Hi, I'm Colin with Blue Marble Consulting, and in this video I'm going to demonstrate the purchase order process in SAP. So what we'll do is take a look at creating a purchase order, viewing the release strategy that's then triggered by that purchase order, creating a goods receipt and an invoice receipt, and finally wrapping up with some financial accounting related to that purchase order. This is the Create Purchase Order transaction in SAP. So up at the top we have all of our header information, like our vendor. We also have different purchasing organizations and groups, as well as company code. And I'll describe these in a little bit more detail when we talk about the release strategy, but it's just another way of keeping track of controlling information. And then down here we can see is a line item. We just have one right now, but we can put in multiple line items for purchase. You can see that we are buying LCD screens. We're going to buy 1,000 of these at $1,000 each. And we can see right here we have a material group called IT. So once we have all of our information entered in here, we'll go ahead and click Save, which will post this purchase order. We'll see an information message down at the bottom showing what that PO number is. So we can see that there's our number right here. Now, in SAP, we have what's called a release strategy, and this is basically different levels of thresholds that are set up to prevent a purchase order from going to accounting and being invoiced based on a variety of different criteria that we can set up. So I'll put in our purchase order, and in this case here, we can set up release strategies based on dollar amounts. We can set them up based on other criteria as well. So we can set these up based on material group, or on, if we go over here, we can set them up by purchasing groups as well. So for instance, we can say for this purchasing department, if they hit any level over or at $100,000, we want the strategy to be set up so that a VP needs to finally approve of this before it can move on and be invoiced and paid for by accounting. So this is that release purchase order transaction, and what will happen is these people will get notifications asking them to release the purchase order. And so what they'll do is go in, they'll click release, and then save, and it's just one step to prevent large amounts of, or dollar amounts for purchase orders for being created. So it's as easy as that. They'll go in, enter in the purchase order number, click release, and then save. You can see that that was now saved. So next we have the goods receipt. So once we confirm that the goods were delivered, we can go in and enter in that goods receipt. So we'll enter in our purchase order number, enter. You can see here that there is our purchase order. We'll make sure that everything made it in okay, click OK, and then save. So that's the goods receipt. The next step in this process is the invoice receipt. And that's the third part of the three-way match. And the three-way match consists of a purchase order, a goods receipt, and an invoice receipt, which completes that three-way match. So we'll go in and enter in the invoice, and this is typically done by accounting. So we can go in and put in a date for this invoice, a reference, and then put in our purchase order. And here we can see it right here, and you probably wouldn't be buying $1 million worth of LCD screens, but that was there just to showcase how the release strategy worked. So once you enter in your purchase order, you'll put in the purchase order and then the amount. We'll hit enter. And now we can see up at the top that this balances out to $0. So now, similar to the other transactions, to post this, we'll go ahead and click the Save button up here. And so that's it for the three-way match. Again, that's the purchase order, the invoice receipt, and the goods receipt. And along the way, we set up a release strategy which was triggered based on dollar amounts. And again, we can change that to different material groups based on the materials that you're buying, or we can set that up to be relevant for purchasing groups as well. So now we'll take a look at some of the financial reporting, because after we do the goods receipt and invoice receipt, it will hit the financial area of SAP. So I'll run what's called a vendor line item report. We'll go back to our home screen here, and under my favorites I have this report all set up, so I can just double click on this to bring it up. We can see that a few fields are populated. This is the vendor that we just created that three-way match for. And since we were just working in that, it's automatically populated in the field right here. So we'll take a look at all of the items for this vendor that were posted today. Okay, and since that was the only thing that was created for the vendor, we can see that that's the only line item here. You can see that that's the $1 million LCD purchase. We can double click on that to drill down further. And this just shows you more information about that line item. We can drill in even further to view the accounting information. And we can see the different accounts that had hit. We can also take a look at the general ledger view from the screen as well. See that we're hitting our trade accounts payable as well as the goods receipt, invoice receipt account for that $1 million. Now there are hundreds and hundreds of different reports in SAP for different things. One more that I'll show you is the purchase order report by vendor. So we'll go back to our home screen here. And this is the report that we will take a look at. This will just pull up all the purchase orders based on a vendor. You can also see that we can search by a variety of other criteria to pull up a certain range of purchasing documents. So again, our vendor defaulted into the field here, so we'll run the report. And again, you can see that this is the only purchase order for this vendor. We can see that there are 1,000 of those LCD screens, and we can also see that there are 0 left to still be delivered. That's because we did the goods receipt, and the 0 left to be invoiced because we already did that as well. So this delivers a little bit more information in the last report, and we can also drill down and view the originating purchase order from here. And we can see all of the same information, GL accounts, cost centers that were hit, as well as a variety of other information. So that concludes this overview video of the purchase order process in SAP. And we began with the purchase order, went over the release strategy, took a look at the goods receipt and invoice receipt, part of which is called a three-way match, and then wrapped up with some financial reporting. For more information on how Blue Marble Consulting can implement a solution like this for you, please call our number listed here or visit our website at sap-bmc.com.